Now, the government says more than 6 million households will be eligible to get a £150 discount off their energy bills this winter as part of an expansion of the Warm Home Discount Scheme.
Energy Minister Miatta Fahnbulleh joins us now. I absolutely promise you, Miatta, that we are going to talk about the warm home discount because it's really important to so many of our viewers. But because of the situations, the breaking news in the last few hours of those strikes against Israel, I just want to touch on the Iran situation. President Trump has said he will take measures. He won't be pressed on if he's going to. We know that there was a Cobra meeting yesterday. I'd be interested to know what you were briefed following that, and also whether you think we should be doing more to get British out of Israel.
Well, listen, the first thing I'd say is that this is obviously a really serious, very volatile situation. And the Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary are monitoring it incredibly closely and are calibrating our response. Now, you wouldn't expect me to get into operational matters or to disclose what was discussed in a Cobra meeting. But I will say this, our absolute priority has been to de-escalate the situation, to try and get parties round the table so that we can negotiate and find a diplomatic solution through this. And everything that the Prime Minister is trying to do, every conversation he's having, everything the Foreign Secretary is trying to do is in service of that purpose. So that will continue being our focus, and we are investing the time in that, alongside making sure that, we are doing everything we can to ensure that British nationals are safe. We're asking all British nationals to register with the embassy so we know where they are, and we're urging them to make sure that they are following the advice that is being put out by the authorities, for example, locally in Israel.
OK. One of the consequences we know of conflict around the world, and particularly in the Middle East, is that it contributes to the already huge refugee crisis that we have around the world. Are you concerned, or are there any plans in place that if this conflict does escalate, which it already is in Iran, we know there's 90 million people in Iran, if some of them, and only a small percentage of them, decide they want to leave and come to Britain to join maybe family members here. We spoke, Jonathan, our correspondent out in France at the moment, spoke to actually an Iranian refugee who's actually trying to get over here. So we know that's already happening. Do you think we'll make more provisions for those kind of people to come over here? And will that add to an already broken refugee and asylum system in the UK?
Well, listen, I think there are two things. We do not want an escalation of war in the system because it is innocent citizens and civilians that get caught in the crossfires of war. And so this is why we're working so hard to find stability and a pathway to a diplomatic solution. And look, on the question of refugees, look, we know that refugees in areas of conflict, whether that is in the Middle East, whether that is in parts of Africa, tend to be displaced to other countries within that region. So if you look at all conflicts, that is the case. And I suspect that will continue to be the case. But on the specifics of which you did ask, the specifics of our own immigration system, look, I'll be the first to say our immigration system is very broken. We have people who are not being processed quickly enough and are languishing on the immigration system. And that's why the Home Secretary is working so hard to make sure that we are fixing the immigration system at the same time as dealing with that really critical issue of making sure that people are not getting on boats and going across the channel in that really dangerous and precarious way.
But just picking up on that, though, you say that most displaced refugees will go to a country or nearby. Your family didn't, and you didn't. You were 7 years old. Your family came over here as refugees from Liberia. I suspect through a scheme or a proper application process. Do you feel bad that you're in a position now of power and influence as an MP, yet a lot of other people don't have the privilege that you had, don't have those schemes available, can't apply, can't get visas? They just simply do not exist for many people around the world. Yet you did benefit from that, and you're in a position of influence and power, and not much is being done about it.
Look, I'm a first-generation immigrant in this country, and I have benefited from the generosity of this country. I've benefited from the fact that I was, integrated into this community, and I'm now in the position that I am in. And I think that is the beauty of our asylum system and our refugee system. What I would say is, of course, look, I think the state of our immigration system is absolutely heartbreaking. It has been broken down over the course of the last 15 years. And this is why I am so clear that the government has to do the job of fixing it back so that, people can seek asylum where they need to seek asylum. But if people do not have a right to be here, they shouldn't be here. But critically, the situation that we now have where people are, being forced across the channel in really unsafe conditions has to be something that we clamp down on. No one wants to see that. That is not good for any part of the system or the equation, and we have to get a grip on that.
All right.
Should we talk about the warm home discount, the £150 payment that you've made more available to more people, more households this winter now, having rode back on the initial decision? When the support was launched in 2011, it was £140 one-off payment. It's now £150. But in the meantime, energy prices have doubled, so it's worth a lot less.
Well, listen, there are two parts of this. The first is, it is absolutely right. We know, and I spend a lot of time going across the country talking to people, and I know that people are under huge amounts of pressure with the cost of living, and that energy is a core part of that. So for me, it is absolutely right that we're extending support to 2.7 million additional people, so that there are 6 million people that will benefit this coming winter. That was my priority. That's what we've achieved, and that's what we're planning to roll out. But it is also right that we need to do a lot more. And that's why we are really focused on trying to get energy bills down for everyone, because we know that people are struggling with the cost of energy. And whether that is through our mission to deliver clean power so that, we have nuclear, we have renewables, we are not reliant on global fossil fuel markets that we have no control over. This roller coaster of price rises and price falls that have been so catastrophic for family finances. We've got to fix that. At the same time as making sure that we are doing the job of upgrading millions of homes across the country, putting in things like solar panels, insulation, batteries, heat pumps that will drive down bill savings of up to £600. So we are absolutely focused on this. This is a core priority of everything that we're doing, because we understand. We understand that people are under pressure, and we understand that the cost of energy is far too high.
And, of course, related to this is the struggles and the proposed reforms to benefits, which I presume is about cutting costs, but also getting people back into work. PIP and Universal Credit suggest that 250,000 people, including 50,000 people, pushed into poverty. That's the government figures, your own looking into it. Charities warn it's actually going to be more like 400,000. What Labour principle justifies that?
Well, listen, let me take it in two parts. The first thing I would say is, look, this is a government, every Labour government has reduced poverty over their term in office. That is core to our values, and that is something that I know, whether it's our colleagues in the backbenchers...
But this decision puts more people into poverty. So what is the principle that people can see as a Labour government doing that? Because yesterday, Liz Kendall caused a lot of disturbance and shock amongst your own backbenchers with her announcements.
Well, listen, if you're asking me, do I believe that people who need support, who are severely disabled, should have support taken away from them? Absolutely not. Do I think that we need to reform the welfare system so that it is less punitive, so that it does the job of supporting people into work? Absolutely, I do. And look, on this, the Prime Minister has been really clear about the principles that should shape our approach to reform. One is that if you need support, that support has to be there for you. So people who are struggling, people who have severe disabilities, must absolutely get the support that they need. If you can work, then it is the responsibility of the welfare system to make sure that it is supporting you into work. And if you can work, you should be working. And I think those must continue to be the guiding principles. The team in the Work and Pensions Department are working hard through a package of reforms to take a system that is very broken in order to make sure that it is delivering against those objectives. Okay. And reform must come first. It cannot be be an agenda about cuts. It has to be about reforms. And if you do two things, if you do the job of making sure that you're supporting people into work and you also do the job of getting waiting lists down in the NHS, because that's a really important part of that. We've seen an increase in health and disability benefits because people are stuck in an NHS that is not treating them. Do those two things and the savings will come out of that. We will not take support away from people who need support, and we absolutely must not do that.
Miatta Fahnbulleh, we'll have to leave it there because we know you've got more work to do and we do have to move on as well. But thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much indeed.